Hello, Bitcoiners. Thank you very much. Hello. It's good to be with you.
All right, strap in, everyone, because today we are going deep into crypto.
Oh yeah, diving right in.
You guys have been asking for it, a total deep dive into the current state of cryptocurrency.
With good reason. It's been wild lately.
Especially with all the market craziness and, well, Trump's, unexpected involvement.
Yeah, that's been something else.
So to break it all down, we've got a great explainer on cryptocurrency to get us started, and then an article from Al Jazeera with a very interesting title.
I saw that one.
Why is Trump's election as U.S. president prompting a Bitcoin surge?
A lot to unpack there.
That's what we're here for. So first, can you give us a quick cryptocurrency 101, for anyone listening who maybe just started paying attention to all of this?
Sure. Basically, think of cryptocurrency as digital money. It operates completely outside the control of banks and governments.
So no central authority.
Exactly. And it relies on blockchain technology, which is essentially a secure and transparent digital ledger.
Okay, so instead of a bank keeping track of your money, it's this blockchain thing doing the work.
Yeah. It's a decentralized network of computers that record and verify all transactions. That's the key.
And that's what makes it so appealing to a lot of people, right? That whole decentralized aspect, cutting out the middleman.
Huge appeal. A lot of people, especially people who might not trust traditional financial institutions.
Right. Now, there are thousands of these cryptocurrencies out there, but obviously Bitcoin and Ethereum are the one we always hear about.
Yeah, they're the big players for sure, the ones making headlines. But what's interesting is how the market is reacting, not just to internal factors, like technological changes, but also to external pressures.
Like a certain presidential election.
Exactly.
Okay, well, let's talk about the market upheaval then. I mean, we saw that Bitcoin surge right after the election, but crypto is known for being super volatile.
Oh, it's a roller coaster for sure.
So what's driving all that? What are the main forces at play?
Well, you've got a few things all kind of working together. Regulation is a big one.
Meaning?
Well, governments around the world are still figuring out how to handle cryptocurrency, how to regulate it. Creates a lot of uncertainty.
Yeah, and that uncertainty trickles down to the market.
Absolutely. It can directly impact market value.
So kind of a wait-and-see approach from governments, leading to nervousness among investors.
Right. And then you have to consider the overall economic climate. When things feel shaky globally, people tend to look for alternative assets.
Like gold.
Exactly. Or cryptocurrency. That can cause these big price spikes.
So it's a safe haven in uncertain times, at least for some people.
For some investors,
Yeah.
definitely. But then there's also market manipulation to think about. The big players, the whales, as they're sometimes called.
They can really move the market, can't they?
Oh yeah, with their buying and selling power, they could definitely sway things. And of course, technological developments or failures within the blockchain itself, those can cause big swings too.
Right, like if there's a security breach or something like that.
Exactly. It all makes for a very dynamic market.
And into all of this steps Donald Trump, which is a bit of a head-scratcher.
Yeah, nobody really saw that coming.
Especially considering he was pretty vocal back in 2019, calling Bitcoin highly volatile.
I remember that.
So what changed?
Well, his NFT ventures in 2022 and 2023 were kind of a hint, I guess. And we know some of his economic policies, during his first term, especially around deregulation, those did have an indirect impact on the crypto market.
So some folks saw that as a good thing.
Oh yeah, a lot of crypto enthusiasts were happy with that hands-off approach.
But still, launching his own cryptocurrency venture,
World Liberty Financial, with his sons,
it's a bold move.
definitely a signal that he sees potential in this space. And a lot of his supporters, they tend to be, anti-establishment.
A little bit rebellious.
Exactly, and that aligns with the whole decentralized nature of cryptocurrency.
Right. Okay, so that brings us back to that big Bitcoin surge right after his election win. What's the connection there?
Well, it seems investors are anticipating a crypto-friendly administration. They're hopeful.
That he'll, clear the way for more crypto adoption.
Something like that. Remember, during his campaign, Trump talked about making the U.S. the crypto capital of the planet.
Oh, yeah, and he even accepted cryptocurrency donations.
He did, which was a big deal. And then there was that appearance at the Bitcoin 2024 conference.
Where he said he'd prevent the government from liquidating its Bitcoin reserves.
Right. So you can see why investors are feeling optimistic.
So a lot of hope pinned on a more favorable environment for crypto under Trump.
It seems that way.
Yeah.
But not everyone is buying it. you know?
There are some skeptics out there.
Oh, for sure. Some experts have voiced concerns about the lack of specifics around Trump's plans for crypto.
So a bit of wait and see again.
Yeah, I think that's a smart approach. We need more details before we can really assess the long-term impact.
All right, so what does all this mean for the bigger picture? Where do we go from here?
Well, that's what we're going to dig into after the break.
Right back after this.
Welcome back, folks. We're picking up our crypto deep dive right where we left off.
We were talking about that Bitcoin surge after the election.
Right, and I think it's important to look at that in the context of the bigger financial picture.
What do you mean?
Well, we're seeing a lot more institutional interest in cryptocurrency these days.
So not just, the average person dabbling in it anymore?
Yeah, it's not just individuals, it's big players getting involved. Hedge funds, investment banks.
Wow, so what's driving that?
Well, partly it's the potential for returns, of course, but also the technology itself is maturing,
Blockchain is becoming more sophisticated.
Right, more secure, more efficient. Transactions are faster.
Okay, that makes sense. But there are still some pretty big hurdles for crypto to overcome before it really goes mainstream, right?
Regulation is a big one, a huge one, actually.
Still a lot of uncertainty there.
Oh yeah, it's very much a work in progress. Different countries are taking different approaches.
Makes it tough for businesses to navigate.
Exactly. And then there's the elephant in the room.
Which is?
Volatility.
Ah, right.
The crypto market can be incredibly volatile.
It's a roller coaster. We said that earlier.
Exactly, and that's a major deterrent for a lot of investors.
Especially the more risk-averse folks.
Right. They can't stomach those wild swings.
So lots of potential, but also lots of risk.
That's the name of the game.
And speaking of risk, well, Trump's involvement definitely throws another wild card into the mix.
It does, doesn't it? I mean, a few years ago, he was critical of Bitcoin.
Right, called it highly volatile.
Then he dabbled in NFTs.
Now he's launching his own crypto venture.
World Liberty Financial. It's a little hard to pin down where he really stands.
Kind of playing both sides.
In a way, yeah. I think it raises some interesting questions about his motives.
And about what his policies will actually mean for the crypto market.
Yeah, will he really push for that crypto capital of the planet vision?
And if so, how?
Exactly. There are people who believe he'll create a very favorable regulatory environment, tax breaks, incentives.
To affect businesses.
Right, to bring in investors. But there are also concerns about potential over-regulation.
So too much government interference could stifle innovation.
Exactly. It's a tightrope walk.
Finding that balance, yeah.
We'll have to wait and see how it all plays out. But one thing's for sure, the crypto world is watching this very closely.
No doubt about it. Now let's go back to that Bitcoin surge for a minute. What's driving that investor optimism, especially given Trump's, his past skepticism?
I think it's a few things. First, there's this perception that a Trump administration will be more crypto-friendly, compared to the previous administration.
Like we were just talking about, the regulatory environment.
Right. Less regulation, more freedom for the market to grow.
Okay, and that aligns with, his campaign rhetoric.
Yeah, he tapped into that desire for a less regulated crypto space, and it resonated with a lot of people.
So the crypto capital idea, that really caught on.
It did. And then there's his own personal foray into the world, first with NFTs, now with World Liberty Financial.
It's like he's putting his money where his mouth is.
Exactly. And let's not forget his criticisms of Gary Gensler.
The current SEC chairman.
Yeah, who has a reputation for being, pretty tough on crypto.
A lot of people in the industry see him as a bit of a roadblock.
Right. So there's anticipation that Trump might appoint someone who's more aligned with his vision.
Someone more crypto-friendly.
Exactly. That could pave the way for things like a Bitcoin ETF, which a lot of people have been waiting for.
Oh, yeah, that would be huge. A Bitcoin ETF could really open the floodgates for institutional investment.
Exactly. But, it's important to remember that any change in regulation, even deregulation, can have downsides.
Like what?
Well, less regulation could also lead to more opportunities for scams, more market manipulation. It's a double-edged sword.
Right. It's all about finding that balance, isn't it?
Striking that delicate balance. That's the key.
Okay, so zooming out a bit, let's talk about the potential impact of this Bitcoin surge on the U.S. economy as a whole. We've got people like Roderick Melvin Johnson who are very bullish on this.
Yeah, there's this argument that increased investment in crypto will lead to more jobs, more economic growth.
Yeah.
The idea is that a thriving crypto industry in the U.S. would attract talent and capital from all over the world.
So it could be a real boon for the economy.
Potentially, yeah. It's seen as an opportunity for the U.S. to maintain its leadership in this new digital age.
To be at the forefront of this new technology.
Exactly. But of course, there are risks to consider as well.
Like what? What are some of the potential downsides?
Well, there's the potential for disruption to the traditional financial system. Cryptocurrencies challenge the status quo, and that can create some instability,
Okay, so some growing pains maybe.
potentially.
Yeah.
And then there's the volatility issue we talked about earlier.
Right, that's always a concern.
Cryptocurrencies are still a relatively new asset class.
Mm.
Their value can fluctuate wildly, and that makes them risky.
So it's not for the faint of heart.
Definitely not. And then there's the issue of crypto being used for illicit activities,
Like money laundering.
Right, money laundering, tax evasion, things like that. It's something regulators are very concerned about.
So lots of potential, but also lots of challenges.
Yeah, it's a complex landscape.
All right, so for our listeners who are, trying to make sense of all this, what's the key takeaway? What should they be thinking about going forward?
Well, I think that the main thing is that the future of cryptocurrency in the U.S., especially into a Trump presidency, is full of possibilities, both good and bad. It's a space to pay attention to, for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely not going away.
No, not at all. His actions, his policies, especially around regulation, are going to have a big impact on the industry, on the value of these digital assets.
So it's a story that's still being written.
Absolutely. Whether you're a seasoned investor or just curious about crypto, staying informed is crucial. This is a fast-moving space.
A lot to keep track of.
Yeah, lots of twists and turns. But that's what makes it so fascinating.
Right. Okay, well, we've covered a lot of ground today. This has been a really in-depth look at the world of cryptocurrency.
A complex world, for sure, but I think we've shed some light on it.
And given our listeners some things to think about.
Hopefully. And, maybe we'll revisit this topic down the road, see how things have evolved.
Yeah, there's always more to explore. Until then, thanks for joining us, and keep learning, keep asking questions.
That's the best way to navigate this space.
Okay, so we're back and ready to wrap up our crypto deep dive. We've talked about the market, Trump's, surprising jump into the crypto world, and now I think it's time to look ahead.
Yeah, the big question is what a Trump presidency could mean for crypto in the long run.
We know he said some positive things about it during his campaign, and his NFT investments definitely got people's attention.
Right, and all that does suggest a more welcoming environment for crypto compared to the last administration.
But the real game changer, I think, is the whole regulatory landscape.
Yeah, absolutely.
We talked about the SEC a bit earlier, and Trump has been pretty critical of Gary Gensler, the current chairman, and his approach to crypto regulation.
He hasn't exactly been a fan of how Gensler's handled things.
So who will Trump appoint to lead the SEC? That's the big question, right?
It is, yeah. I mean, will it be someone who's more in line with his vision?
With his whole crypto capital of the planet idea?
Exactly. Someone who might be a little more crypto-friendly.
I mean, that could mean clear guidelines for businesses, making it easier to operate and attract investment.
Absolutely. It could even, open the door for that Bitcoin ETF that everyone's been waiting for.
Oh yeah, that would be huge. A Bitcoin ETF could really bring in those institutional investors, potentially drive up demand and prices.
It would be a significant development for sure.
But like you said earlier, any change in regulation, even deregulation, can have unintended consequences.
No, absolutely. I mean, some deregulation can be good. It can foster innovation and growth.
Right.
But too much leniency could lead to, more scams, more market manipulation.
So it's about finding that balance.
That sweet spot between encouraging growth and protecting investors.
A tough needle to thread, it seems.
It is, yeah. And it'll be interesting to see how a Trump administration handles that. But I think beyond the regulatory stuff, there are broader economic implications to think about.
Like, what happens if Trump's policies are actually successful? If they attract all these crypto businesses and investment to the U.S., what could that mean for the economy as a whole?
Well, there's potential for job creation, economic growth.
The whole 9 yards.
Yeah, exactly. The idea is that a thriving crypto industry here in the U.S. could bring in talent and capital from all over.
So the U.S. could become like a global leader in this new crypto economy.
Right, like Silicon Valley became for tech,
Makes sense. But of course, there are potential downsides too, right?
Oh, of course. There always are. For one, there's the potential for disruption to to the traditional financial system?
Because crypto is, well, it's kind of a challenge to the status quo.
It is, yeah. And that can create some instability.
So some bumps in the road, maybe.
Possibly. And then there's the volatility issue we talked about earlier. The crypto market is still relatively young. It's unpredictable.
Investors need to be aware of that, right?
Absolutely. It's
Yeah.
important to do your research, to invest wisely, and be prepared for the ups and downs.
So what's the main takeaway for our listeners? What should they be thinking about as we move forward into this new era?
I think the biggest takeaway is that the future of cryptocurrency in the U.S. under a Trump presidency is full of potential, both positive and negative.
Lots of possibilities.
Lots of possibilities. It's definitely a space to keep an eye on.
Yeah, his actions, his policies, especially around regulation, are going to have a big impact on the industry, on the value of cryptocurrencies.
For sure. So whether you're a seasoned investor or just starting to learn about crypto, staying informed is key. This is a very dynamic space. Things are changing all the time.
Well, I think it's safe to say we've all learned a lot today. This has been a fascinating deep dive into the world of cryptocurrency.
It has been a lot to digest, but I think we've covered a lot of ground.
And hopefully given our listeners a good foundation to build on.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe we'll revisit this topic down the line, see how things have progressed.
Yeah, always more to explore. Thanks for joining us, everyone. And remember, keep learning, keep asking questions.
That's the best way to navigate this space.
Yeah.
Stay curious out there.